What's up, guys? I'm Crystal Lee Naomi, aka Jasmine Borders on Tyler Perry's Sisters. Be sure to subscribe to the Haves and the Have-Nots review for not only reviews on the Haves and the Have-Nots, but also on Sisters. And while you're at it, give your girl a follow on Instagram at Crystal Lee Naomi. And I'll see you every Wednesday at 9, only on BET.
All right, Sisters fans, I hope everyone is doing well. Merry Christmas Eve. Yeah, it is December 24th. Currently pouring down rain. It's going to be raining all day. With that being said, I opted to go home Christmas Day. So I do plan on going home tomorrow morning. I'll probably leave Lynchburg around maybe 7 o'clock, 7:30 or so. Wait for the sun to kind of come up. Should be light traffic. I'll, play it safe and, make it home in one piece. Stay for a couple days, come back and get right back to work. But, yeah, this is, I can't believe this was the mid-season finale because it feels just like yesterday when the season 2 premiered with the 2 episodes, back-to-back episodes 1 and 2. But here we are discussing last night's episode, Thinking of You. Here's the synopsis in case you didn't watch my trailer breakdown, which I don't know why you don't because, well, hey, they really help us slide into the next episode. Matter of fact, they actually surprised me. I didn't think we would get the episode trailer for the next one, but then again I forgot this was the mid-season after season finale. So Andi believes she is being punished for dating a married man. Calvin and Maurice enter into an agreement. Danni and Sabrina stand in full support of Andi as she attempts to make things right with Gary. I got a lot of thoughts about the episode. And I liked it overall, but I just feel like we got a lot of Andi, and Andi was definitely not a character I really felt I enjoyed watching in the episode. But I will get to all that. Kind of like the Haves and the Have-Nots review, not quoting the channel title, but my review for this week's Have and Have-Nots. I don't know exactly what to score the episode, but I'll give you the score towards the end of the video. And unfortunately, if you follow me on Twitter, then you saw that Xfinity, for whatever reason, not on my TV, not on my laptop, it was not working. So I was not able to watch this live. I wanted to live tweet. I wanted to live stream right after, but I could not watch the episode live. So I apologize for that. But freaking technology, I almost pay $200 a month on this dang Xfinity and it don't work. So I'm gonna have to have a talk with them next week. So sorry to ramble at the mouth here, but go ahead and like the video, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content to the channel. And follow me on my social media platforms. Links are in the description below. Typically I get my House of Pain and assisted living videos done first, but Sisters, it is the mid-season finale, so I wanted this show to take priority. And let me just say this. I got a lot of thoughts about House of Pain. Trust and believe. We'll get to that in that particular video. But let me just say up front. Karen, I feel, was the MVP of the episode. Karen was the MVP of the episode. Like, I still don't fully trust Aaron. And, I don't give Karen the amount of flack a lot of other people do. Check out the video I posted. What was it? It was either, I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was Tuesday when I posted, who should Zach end up with? And, it's one of the mini sister videos I've done where I talked about, Zach isn't a saint. Like, I know a lot of people side with Zach over Karen, particularly in season 2, but he is very, 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 very much a part of why their relationship failed. But when it comes to the dynamic between Andi and Karen, I'm glad that Karen is no nonsense. But let's just start where the episode picks up. So Maurice, who after last week's episode, I just am not a big fan of, and you should watch the videos I posted of why, because he left Sabrina. So I don't feel bad about Sabrina tricking him. Basically, Maurice calls Sabrina, asks if Alonzo is alive to say if he's going to jail or not. And she's like, well, what do you expect? He's been laying out here and you left me. Girl, I ain't worried about you. I'm worried about going to jail. Well, I couldn't just leave him there. Okay, I do feel like that was a. I think just listening to Sabrina say that line, I'm like, I don't know. But in any case, she makes it seem like, I told the police where you were. You snitching on me? Like, well, hey, what was I supposed to do? I wasn't going to just leave him there. And basically, there's a knock on the door. He assumes it's the police. He freaks out, opens the door, and it's Sabrina. And here's what it came down to. She called 911. They got their ambulance and whatnot. Turns out Alonzo was high. So, yeah, he did take a good amount of hits. And if I remember correctly, Maurice kind of slammed his head upside of his car. So, he, passed out from that. But essentially, Alonzo was high. And, basically, he just punched him until he was unconscious. So he's alive. 911 came, gave him a, once over. And they put him in a cab and they took him home. So Maurice has nothing to worry about in terms of, pressing charges because it was self-defense. He was breaking the restraining order and whatnot. He was there to more or less just bully Maurice into dropping the charges. And trust and believe, we'll get to Alonzo again towards the end of the episode. But I know a lot of people are giving Sabrina, well, should I just say they're writing some flack because Sabrina, explains everything to Maurice, takes like the bonnet or whatever and then goes to sleep. And people are like, wait. How is Sabrina sober right now? What's going on? I'm going to let it slide because as a person who doesn't drink by choice, don't worry, I'm not like overly conservative, not conservative. I was like, oh, I'm a super Christian, so I don't drink. It's not like that. It's just personal choice. So I've never been drunk, so I can't tell you the ins and out of being sober and being drunk. But I could imagine, again, it's just me thinking, if you are a person who has experience and you feel free to let me know in the comments, like, being in a position of stress and whatnot like Sabrina, you would think that would kind of snap her into soberness, at least for a little bit, or make her more aware of what's going down. Because imagine your friend drops you off at a bank and, they're in the car, you go to examine a body and then they drive off and leave your ass. Yeah, I would probably get my coherentness back, at least for a little bit. So from there, we move over to Andi apartment. So Aaron and Karen come in there, Karen screaming for Andi, Aaron's looking around doing the same thing, and then they find her laying in her bed. And while Karen asks Aaron to give the women a moment together, she's like, let me call Gary, see what's going on. So this is where Karen really shined in the I feel like there are two big scenes where Karen shined the brightest, and they both took place at Andi's apartment. The first being this scene here, and then the next scene when it's morning and, they're drinking coffee and whatnot. But basically, Aaron went out to, call the hospital, and Andi is, well, I'll give KJ Smith some credit here because the way she was portraying like a woman who was in shock, I like the way she pulled that off because, it's almost like they kind of spaced out. They don't really know what's going on, but it is not funny, but it's like, it doesn't surprise me that even in the midst of being in a traumatic physical experience like that, she's still making excuses for Andi. And I got to just say that I was looking at some of the posts that needed to be approved for the Sistas group. And a lot of people were like, if I were Karen, I would have slapped the mess out of Andi anytime she tried to make excuses for Gary. Now, I'm not saying that would be the best route because for somebody experiencing abuse, physical abuse, like slapping them in the face probably wouldn't help. But I feel like if nothing else, Andi needs therapy. And I feel like I've said that many a time for a lot of Tyler Perry show characters where these people need therapy. So she's like, well, Gary, he came in and, he needed to put, I said he wanted to come in my bedroom. I said, no, I said, you could stay on the couch. And, then he was like, I'm sorry for everything that's going on. I'm going through a lot and, I love you so much. And then he held me and then he just started squeezing. And then, yeah, he didn't hit me though. It's like, and then Karen breaks it down. Like, just because he didn't hit you doesn't mean that, that you weren't abused. And basically after that, Karen's like, hey, we're going to take you to the hospital. We're going to, file a police report. And Andi doesn't want to. No, I don't want. No, I don't want to do that. And this is the part that tripped me out. When Karen's like, you deserve better than this. Do I? And I'm like, whoa. That's some. I ain't going to lie. Even though I have not liked this whole Andi thing this entire season, that one line gave me some, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So basically, like the synopsis said, Andi believes she's being punished for dating a married man. And let me just put it this way. As a person who is, I know I shouldn't be, but I've always been like a goal-oriented perfectionist in a way. Because, obviously I grew up loving Michael Jackson and whatnot. I just, looking at all the documentaries and all this interviews about how he's a perfectionist, top-notch. That's always kind of how I've tried to live my life. So I'm always my hardest critic. Like, even when I mess up, or most of the time, even when I'm not at fault for something, like, let's say I'm in traffic and somebody just randomly cuts me off, I have a bit of a mini heart attack. Like, damn, what if I went slower and whatnot? No, it's not that. It's like, I'm just that kind of critic, like, if something just happens out of the norm, that kind of throws me off my groove, so to speak. Even when I'm not at fault, or even if I do make a small mistake, I'm always going to, not physically, but, mentally beat myself up over it. And sometimes I wonder about that. Like, am I in a position where I feel like I'm selling myself short, or I know that I deserve better than a current circumstance, that kind of thing. So, not to self-insert myself into this review, but I do feel like that's what makes certain episodes of Tyler Perry products shine for me, when I'm able to insert myself, or if I see myself or a friend or a family member or basically someone I know in a storyline, a character, or something like that. So I did like that approach, with the whole Andi thing. Like, I feel like this is my punishment for dating a married man. Now, don't get me wrong. Even though I gave that line about 3 minutes of praise right there, I think that Andi should have gotten this awakening at the beginning of the season, when she was dealing with the aftermath of season 1, where she lost everything: apartment, money, job, isolated her friends. She basically was able to kind of save herself, because I will say, like, Jasmine giving her warnings and whatnot, I feel like it's almost like Andi prevented herself from going full on Jasmine, because Lord knows, what kind of life she had prior to Gary, from like the isolating friends and controlling everything. So unlike Jasmine, at least Andi still has her girls. But the problem is, and I know this review is going to be lengthy because I'm not even a third through my notes, but I feel like this episode had a lot to kind of delve into. So if you don't like when I go long reviews, or if you feel I'm long-winded, this is probably not the video for you. But this is the mid-season finale. This is one of my final videos prior to going home for Christmas. So I want to make sure this review gets a fair shot and is given extra care, because trust and believe, I did sleep for about 6 hours after I watched the episode. So if I did my review after the episode, I feel like I would be ranting a lot more, because I just hated how Andi was portrayed. But after, getting some sleep, waking up, eating a couple waffles like Donkey from Shrek, I feel like I'm in better spirits right now. Maybe because it's Christmas Eve, but I just feel like Andi definitely was given a bit more depth to her character there. But like I said before, I think she really should have had this awakening when she almost lost, well, she damn near lost everything but the clothes on her back and the shoes on her feet, which obviously probably hurt from all that walking at the beginning of the season. But she wins things back several episodes later, with the lawsuit and everything against her law firm. And the thing is, she's still trying to save Gary. And the problem is, Gary really isn't trying to save her. I don't even think that saying that Gary looks at Andi as a possession is even the right word. I feel like there's so much worse going on here. So after that, because remember earlier this season, I think it was the same night that they went out to girls night, with Fatima with the group, it was Andi and Karen sitting one-on-one talking at Andi's place. And Andi was telling Karen, like, just give me some time or something like that. It was either like, give me a day or give me some time to process. It's like, I wish I could be like you, Karen. I wish I could just cut people off and just move on. It's like, Karen's like, yeah, but that doesn't still mean I don't love Zach. It just means that I just recognize I needed that part of my life done with. It takes time to get over someone, but the first step is, cutting them off completely. And Andi obviously has a problem with doing that. So, once again, she's telling Karen, give me some time, give me like a day. But remember, in that episode where Karen's like, fine, I'll give you some time, but if Gary steps out of line again, time's up. And that wasn't a Me Too reference, just so you know. So essentially, Karen's like, fine, you're going to come stay with me. No, I've been with you. I've been with Sabrina. I've been at your place. I've been at Sabrina's place. I want to just be in my place. I want to be in my place. But it's like, well, I mean, not knowing, if I'm not mistaken, Andi doesn't know what happened to Gary, in terms of that car wreck. And we'll get into that soon enough, because I will give this episode praise because they didn't waste any time from Aaron being at Andi's place to Aaron being at the hospital. And I just realized on my notes, holy shit, I'm like 15 minutes into the video and I'm still on the second scene of the episode. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. So basically, Karen ain't hearing this crap from Andi. Like, look, fine, you don't want to go anywhere, so I'm going to stay here with you. And she, goes out, tells Aaron, like, hey, everything ain't okay. Gary, fine, yeah, I'll go to the hospital, see about him. And it's like, yeah, you go see him, but tell him to stay away from Andi. Yeah, I'll do that. So Aaron leaves. And we go to the hospital, and apparently there was like a high-speed crash or something. Everybody was okay, though, the person that Gary crashed into, but he doesn't seem to have any scratches or whatever, so thankfully he was wearing his seatbelt, it seems. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but yeah, whatever. So, turns out, the police are outside. They're going to take him to jail, and I think that he was asking Aaron to help him out with bail. Not that he needed the money for or something, or at least his lawyer was going to help. Essentially, somebody was going to get him out of jail. I'm sorry, but that line kind of just slipped over my head. I just didn't pay attention to that fully. But essentially, Gary was going to jail, but he would make bail. That rhymes. And he doesn't really want to talk with. The thing about, I don't want to say that I don't want to say that Gary and Andi deserve each other, but they definitely have a lot in common where both parties have a very strong support system. It's the fact that they just keep ignoring them. Obviously, Andi has her girls, and you got Pastor Aaron, who's like his spiritual mentor. Even Gary's lawyer tries to help him out, but he doesn't want to listen to anybody. So those two are very much alike. And again, I'm not saying they should be together toxic as hell, but they are very similar now that we're getting some more insight into the kind of people they hang around with. Usually people who they need to take heed advice from, but they just, select to ignore them. So, Aaron's like, hey, can I pray with you? He's like, no. Let me put it this way. If I know I'm going to jail or something like that, I sure as heck would be praying, especially if I'm at fault for something, forgiveness. It's like, I ain't trying to preach up here myself. Yes, I do have degrees from seminary at Liberty. I do have degrees, but I just never got ordained. But, I've been speaking to church since I was 8 years old. But I just know that prayer will fix some stuff. Even when I feel like, especially in the midst of 2020, again, I ain't trying to preach or go on some tangent here. But if nothing else, Gary should just be thanking God that after that wreck, we don't know the full details. We didn't see the wreck. We don't know who he hit. Like if the vehicle he crashed into had people in it. More than one person or some children. I would just say, if I don't want to talk to God, hey, Aaron, could you just say a prayer for like the people who I got involved in the accident with? Like, if nothing else, I'm glad they're fine. That way he's not facing charges for, murder or something like that. So I think he was drinking too. Yeah, so he was drinking and driving, and then that led to the crash. So he's just telling Aaron, just go get the doctor. And after that, we go to Maurice and Sabrina waking up the next morning. Got some wise cracks about Sabrina's morning breath. Like, girl, your teeth holding your breath in. So, as she's getting ready for work, because it's like a couple hours before she goes to work, knock on the door, and it's Calvin. He comes in. He's like, hey, I'm ready to move in, roomie. I got my first, and Maurice's like, hey, we got to wait for them drug tests. Look, I got my first month and last month's rent. You know what? Fine. Room over there. And as he's trying to get the tea on what was going on last night, uh, Sabrina walks in. So because Calvin's like, last night I was with this fine girl, and oh wait, what? It's like Sabrina's like, oh, I'm actually heading out. Don't mind me at all. Because Calvin's like, well, I'm about to leave. And like, no. She put on her shoes and she just left, and she grabbed her purse and that was it. So basically from there, they have a good talk, and it was good. Like, I know Maurice kind of, slid in the, I guess you could say, the gay jokes and whatnot about Calvin at the end of their conversation, but these were the moments where Maurice's character shined, when he talked about how you and Sabrina are in the same boat. The fact that you're both fearful of heartbreak, and what was her name? Was it Gina? I forgot the name of the girl that Calvin was with last night, but essentially Maurice and her both told Sabrina and Calvin exactly what they needed to hear, and the fact that they're both acting ridiculous, childish, and they just need to have a conversation. And let me just say that more so Sabrina than Calvin, because I did not like Calvin during the back half of season 1 when he was calling Sabrina out of her name and everything. But at the same time, it's like, at least he's not going through the ridiculous and possibly illegal activities Sabrina does, such as getting friends to get him to take a drug test, and pulling all these stunts. And if you watch my Have and Have Not review and trailer breakdown from Tuesday night's episodes, then you know that I talk about how Jim is ridiculous because he's going through all these ridiculous links, threats, and whatnot from Hannah to get some money, and instead of just simply being a mature adult, talking to Hannah like an equal and requesting the money. Exactly the same thing with Sabrina and Calvin. So after that, we go over to Danni and Preston. Looks like it's the next morning. She's trying to rush out to go to work, but he's like, no, sit down, have some breakfast. And I'm like, okay, dang, Preston, all right. Because it's like, it just reminded me of that trope in movies and TV shows where, like, bless her heart, a mother will make a freaking table full of delectable breakfast. Looks wonderful. Pancakes that aren't burnt, eggs that aren't runny, bacon that's crisp as hell. But like the husband or the kid will just, I only got time for just grab like one piece of toast and run out. And I'm like, what the hell? And I think that's one of my favorite Boy Meets World episodes, where the cafeteria lady passed away, and poor Amy, she felt like she was underappreciated because all these days she would, fix breakfast for her family, but nobody would just sit down and eat it. And then at the end of the episode, Corey sat down and it's like, thanks for making breakfast, Mom. And I'm like, damn, that was good. So they have a little talk, and basically, hey, it's like, hey, how are you? What do you got planned for the day? And then Preston's like, well, manure, cows, and flies. And Danny's like, well, hey, I'm off tomorrow. I would like to see what you do for a living, because it takes Preston about a couple hours to drive out to where he works and then comes back. So he seemed a bit taken aback by sure, if you want to, because remember, he comes from a racist family, and I will be doing a season 2 part 2 trailer breakdown, because we did get like a sneak peek at what's coming up in future episodes, but a majority of that trailer was kind of a rehash of what we had in part 1, with only a couple of scenes about part 2, where it looks like Danny's at her job and these two good old boys seem to come up to the counter, and it's like, Lord, I hope these aren't Preston related people. And then of course we get the other scene between Zach and Karen in the airplane. But so Zach comes in, and for some ungodly reason his shirt is still on. But what the hell, man? Look, I ain't body shaming, obviously, just because he got abs and I don't, but it's like, why the hell is his shirt not buttoned up? That's all I'm asking. I know some people are in the comments or even on Instagram joking like, because Tyler Perry likes it and all. Look, I ain't touching that, so don't worry. Nope. That's their comments. If you don't believe me, go to the comment section of my Instagram post where I posted a picture and ask that question. So basically he comes in, he's like, hey, I need to get a shower. And, Preston leaves to go to work. And then he's like, fine, I want to eat this food, because Danny's like, fine, eat it. And she asks, like, so what you doing for this second job? You doing something foul that's going to put you in jail? And then Zach doesn't explain what he does, but he's like, look, don't worry, it's legit. And you'll see. And it's like, you ain't doing this for Karen. Look, I ain't doing this for Karen. I'm doing this for me. I like that. I'm glad that Zach recognizes that, look, she moved on. I still love her, but hey, she moved on. So have I. I'm ready to just do right by me. And I'm like, that's the kind of, I was about to say that word, but that's the kind of stuff I really want to hear from Zach. And I think she even asked, like, have you slept? Like, I got a little bit of sleep. I'm just going to shower, eat, and then I'm going to get to work. So I did think it was funny that after Danny left, he kind of fell asleep in the chair and he fell over. That was actually pretty good. So again, it's the new morning, new day. We got Karen and Andi in the kitchen. And, Karen's like, how you doing? I ain't gonna lie. Both of the women look beautiful. What was it, like Karen in her dress? I forgot what color it was. Look, I know she wore red at the dinner. I mean, the girls' night, but I know Andi was in the blue. But yeah, they both look great. And Andy's like, hey, I want to get up, go to the bank, give Gary that money, and then that's it. And basically, Karen's like, I want to go. No, Karen, you don't trust that I can do this by myself. And Karen, in the nicest way possible, it's not that I don't trust you, I don't trust him. Referencing Gary. And all I got to say is, Andi, who are you trying to fool? Especially after last night, after what happened, you still tried to make excuses and all this stuff about Gary did nothing and I ain't going to worry about it. But no, based on what happens at the bank, I think it's pretty dang clear that if Andi handled this herself, if you will, things would not have worked out the way that she claims they will. And trust me, I got a lot. If you look, we're almost 30 minutes in, and if you think I've talked a lot now, wait till I get to the end of the video, the end of the episode. So essentially, Karen's like, fine, okay, girl, you got this. Okay, thank you. And then as she walks out, is like, okay, well, I will see you at the bank. You get on my damn nerves. I'm like, you know what, Andi? You better be glad you got friends like that. Like, there's a difference between somebody like, what's her name, Pam at the beauty salon, who's always in somebody else's business because they're nosy, versus someone who genuinely cares and recognizes that there's a problem when you clearly choose not to recognize there's a problem. So we go over to the bank, and I hope I don't pronounce their name right. I hope I pronounced their name right instead of saying it wrong. But I believe it's Jacoby. And again, if I'm wrong, my bad. But he walks up to Sabrina, say, hey, good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. It's like, no, don't worry. You're fine. I got your reports. Everything looks good. You're doing fine work. And he gives her a rose, kind of thank her for helping him out, during his first couple days there. And Maurice is in the corner, he's just making sure, like, hey, he's like, don't worry. He's a cuddly teddy bear. It's like, I ain't trying to step on nobody's toes. So he actually asked her out, and she's kind of taken aback by this and is like, how old are you? And it's like, wait, does it matter? And it's like, you know what? I think we should just keep it professional, and gives him back the rose. And, then he goes to his desk. Alonzo walks in, and this is where the episode really started. Like, oh, damn, this is getting good. So Alonzo walks in. I didn't expect this. So comes in with his shades and everything. He's like, hey, man, I'm sorry. Look, I talked to my lawyer, and he just told me that a hate crime will cause me to lose everything. I'm sorry. Is there anything you could do? It's like, I don't feel bad. It's like, I'm going to counseling. I'm trying to do this. It's like, no. I don't feel sorry for you. Leave me the hell alone. It's like, you just want me to do this for you. But guess what? I ended up in a coma because of you. I was in the hospital because of you. I've been scared because of you. And don't even try it. So Alonzo, like, you really ain't going to do this for me? No, get out. So Alonzo walks out, and then Jacoby recognizes him, like, yo, Alonzo. It turns out, they know each other. And while he's just trying to strike up a conversation, it's like, hey, you work here now? Yeah, I got this job here. How you doing? And it's like, no, I'm going to get out of here. So he leaves, and Jacoby doesn't know what's going on. So Sabrina is like, wait, you know him? It's like, well, yeah, I just know him from around town and from some of his parties. And he can't believe that, Alonzo would do a hate crime like he did to Maurice, which it's like they kind of gave Jacoby that kind of slight guilt by association, because that actually was a nice touch, because it just goes to show, not just with famous people and whatnot, but that just shows you that you don't always know a person. I mean, like Jacoby said, I genuinely believe that he doesn't know Jacoby in terms of, like, always hanging out, but like he said, yeah, from around town and from his parties, because remember, he owns Freddie P's, the hangout spot for Sistas during season 1. So yeah, it makes sense that Jacoby would know him from, like, the parties and whatnot, but he wouldn't know the hate crime side of Alonzo, which I did a video about during season 1. It's like, I wonder if we'll get some insight as to why Alonzo is the way he is. Like, did he potentially hook up with someone thinking they were female, but it turns out they were like transgender or a cross-dresser or something like that, and that's possibly why he hates people from the LGBT community. It's one of those situations where I kind of wish they would kind of give us more insight into it. But, you know, essentially, Alonzo just wanted charges dropped to save his own image. But unfortunately, that's not something you could just scrub away. And I'm not saying that bribery would work, especially because, you know, what he did to Maurice. I know it was a hate crime, so I wonder if there's going to be some kind of settlement or whatnot in court. But in any case, they're like, Jacoby's like, oh man, I'm sorry. It's like, look, I don't need your sympathy. And it's like, yeah, Jacoby's like, he didn't know what was going on. He's like, you know what, I mean, I just saw my boy. I didn't know what was, I just started working here. So like, just get back to work. Okay, fine. So, there's another Jacoby scene that I just love, as we get towards the end of the episode. But essentially, yeah, this really just goes to show that Alonzo really does recognize that this whole hate crime thing and having a homophobic, you know, attitude is something that the general public doesn't know. So obviously, once that story makes the presses and, you know, goes to court, he's screwed. Now, the argument could be made that he'll try to do something else to Maurice, but I don't think that's going to help, because if anything happens to Maurice, it seems pretty damn clear that it will be obvious that Alonzo was the one that take it to, you know, to handle it. So he's screwed either way. So let's see what we got here. We're over to my next page, and oh, we're almost done. Yeah, okay. So once Alonzo leaves, let me take a sip of my drink here. 1 second. Ooh. Sorry, I didn't know I was talking for 30 minutes already, but now we got a set of two. Gary and Aaron show up. And they're waiting for Andi. He's like, yeah, she better show up. It's like, whoa, excuse me? And I'm like, Gary, this mother just, oh my God. I'm glad Aaron came down there. Because if not, then things would have went south. Look, all I know is, I'm not saying he would win, but I feel like Maurice would definitely throw down with Gary if he was being rude to Sabrina. The way he was just snapping like that. So, Sabrina calls Andi. You know, she steps away into the back office, and Andi's 5 minutes away. Then after that, Sabrina calls Karen, who's actually just walking into the bank. And then Gary's like, what the hell's going on? Because, you know, obviously, you know, the whole group's going on, coming down. So Sabrina and Karen go into the office, and and we're going back to season 1 here, because she's showing that she's upset that, you know, Andi and Karen have been holding out on her and Danni. And then Sabrina calls Danni. It's like, Danni, where you at? Hey, I'm on my way to work. Can you stop by the bank? Hey, are you paying these bills? Something going on with Andi? Oh, let me turn it around. I'll be there. So Andi actually shows up, and she's taken to the back. And then, you know, basically all the girls are together. Excuse me. And I think it's kind of funny because Maurice looking like at Sabrina like so what's going on here, girl? Don't worry about it, Maurice. And my favorite part, so you got all the girls there, and Maurice is like, you know, there as well. And then you got Aaron, and you got Gary. And Jacoby walks over, is like, hey, welcome to the bank. Is there anything I can do for you? Starting the account, like, hey, don't worry, we'll take care of this. Oh, well, have a great day. I just thought that was pretty funny because, again, he's like the new guy. He doesn't know what's going on. He's just doing his job. It's like, oh, yeah, I was, you know, whenever somebody walks in, I just give them assistance. But, yeah, let me just go back to my computer. And I'm not saying, I know some people are like, if Jacoby don't step away, no, he was just doing his job, because just like with the whole Alonzo thing, he didn't know about the hate crime. And he obviously doesn't know about the tension going on in regards to Gary and Andi and this money. So he's just like, man, I ain't signed up for this. But okay. Yeah, he's having quite the morning. He got shot down by Sabrina. Maurice is still on his back. Not in the fun way, if you will. Because he still thinks he's going to take his job. Him knowing Alonzo kind of got Maurice and Sabrina to give him the stank eye. And now he just got shot down when he was just trying to do his job. So this poor guy. All right, so all the girls go to the back because Gary's like, you know, hey, I'm going to the back too. Like, no, you ain't. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, bank policy. I'm pretty sure, like, you know, Sabrina could just say, no, you ain't going back there. I know a lot of people in the comments like, yo, what is up with this bank? Like, where are all the other customers at? And I'm thinking, like, what about Sabrina's and Maurice's boss? Like, she had a mini prominent role towards the beginning when Sabrina was possibly going to lose her job. And it's like, shouldn't she be there or something like that? I know generally in the mornings when banks open, especially on Saturdays, there aren't a lot of people in there, but you would think there would be somebody to kind of, well, to be fair, there were 3 people. It was Jacoby, Maurice and Sabrina. So there's that. But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of tension going on in this bank. That's all I'm saying. So in any case, the girls go to the office, to the back. They get the money. And they have a little powwow. And Karen's not talking because Andi won't. All she'll say is like, well, he came over, he said he loved me, and then he squeezed me. And it's like, whoa, wait, what? And Karen broke it down. She has a bruised rib. I'm like, oh, damn. So did they go to the hospital? Off screen? So essentially, she is like, I'm going to give him this money, and then I'm going to be done. And, you know, going back to the beginning of the episode, Karen mentioned, like, you know, look, I'm not going through this with you again. Like, that guy from college almost killed you. I'm not. And they never said what they did to that guy. Remember, in season 1, Sabrina and Karen hinted that they had to do something in order to get rid of him. So there ain't no telling what the hell they did. But obviously, Andi was in a very violent situation. So it's almost like, you know, her and Gary is a mixture of her regressing to what she went through before in college, along with her feeling like this is her punishment for going with a married man. But essentially, they come out of the back. And keep in mind, she said, I'm going to give him the money and tell him we're done. Keep that in mind. They come from the back. Hand over the money. Is it all here? Except for $3,000 missing. Do I want to do a video about the $3,000? Let me put it this way. I think the $3,000 was just money she spent on a couple of essential things. Because remember, the morning that she went to her job to incriminate Bellamy and then, you know, explain to her bosses about the settlement and whatnot and how he was just, you know, this was a scam. She had nothing, so she had to borrow like a bunch of cards from credit cards, debit cards from Sabrina. So I feel like the $3,000 maybe was used to pay Sabrina back, or maybe it was to buy her a new dress or something like that. Basically, just a couple outfits. So I feel like only $3,000 missing is pretty reasonable, because remember, in that time span, she was able to, you know, get her job back and whatnot. So I don't think that the $3,000 was miscellaneous, like, oh, I gave it to Paris or I did this. No, I feel like the $3,000 was just money so she could, you know, spend it. I mean, for all I know she put the money in a safety deposit box, but I do feel like the $3,000 was just used for miscellaneous things, like nothing. You know, oh, like I gave it to somebody, but I feel like it was just she spent it on things she needed. Like, if I remember, she didn't have her phone, so she needed to get a new cell phone and things like that. So that's just my interpretation of where that $3,000 was. So essentially, Gary got, what was it, $247,000. Speaking of which, I did think it was funny when she said what the amount was, and Danny's like, you know, hey, no, this is emotional and physical distress and suffering. No, we're keeping this money. It's like, fine, you know what? Give it to him. So the money's given back. And Gary is saying the same, excuse my French, he's saying the same shit as season 1. And that's why I just stopped watching towards the middle, because every time it was a Gary and Andi scene, it was the same thing. I love you, you know, I'm going through a lot right now, and I'm sorry if I hurt you. And he's just making, and I just love the fact that all the girls, cause I've just seen plenty of memes, like, you know, where when your friend's boyfriend is making excuses and you all know it's a lie, it's like the group of friends just making the side eye. Like, you know, Karen, Sabrina, and Danny, they're all rolling their eyes. They're like, dang, this is sob story bull crap. Essentially, it's funny now that I think about it, because Gary was pulling exactly what Alonzo just tried to pull, gain the sympathy. Hey, I'm sorry, man. And it's like, if you could find it in your heart to forgive me, it's like, get the hell out of here. So Andi is just standing there, and I'm just thinking, like, if her girls were not, if it was just Andi and Gary one-on-one, Andi would have fell for this bull crap. And then 3 seconds later, you know, Gary being sweet, you know, he's an asshole 1 minute, but then when he gets what he wants, whether it be the money, Andi saying that we're not through, we're not breaking up, or what have you, and they have a hug and kiss moment, Gary will go right back. So who are you seeing again? Or, you know, where are you going? And it's like, bro, shut the hell up. I don't know what's worse, Gary with the same old excuses, or Andi falling for the same shit over and over. Because notice, Gary's like, hey, I'm sorry, I love you. And then he and Aaron leave. Notice, Andi never once said we're done. She handed over the money, but never once said she was done. Because remember in the back, even when you go back to the coffee in the morning with when Karen and Andi were at Andi's place drinking coffee in the morning and before they went to the bank, she was like, I'm going to give him the money and tell him I'm done. And she never once told Gary, we're done. Leave me alone. You got your money. I don't want to have anything to do with you again. Get rid of your spare keys. I'm changing my locks, even though she did say I was changing my locks before. Never said it. And in the preview for next week, they're like, are you going to be okay? It's like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. It's like, she going to go right back. So I got nothing out of this scene. She was crying her eyes out, and that was the end of the episode. And it's like, this is some bullshit. So overall, if you can't tell from the length of the video, I actually did enjoy the episode. I feel like taking a step back to rest after watching gave me a greater appreciation of it. So for a mid-season finale, I feel like it did pretty well. I mean, yeah, we missed, there was no Fatima, but to be honest, there really wasn't a need for a major Fatima and Zach kind of like side plot going on. I think the episode did well for the characters who were in it. We kind of get a little bit of a taste of, Danni wanting to know what Preston does. The Alonzo follow-up from the beatdown. Calvin finally getting ready to move in with Maurice. The Karen, again, was the MVP of the episode. She wasn't taking anybody's smack. She definitely was channeling her inner Miss Lisa, and it showed. I mean, that's her mother after all. And Andi, it's like, for as annoying as it was to just see her acting the way she was, I think the fact that you had Karen there who wasn't like taking any of this crap is what really made me make it through the episode. And of course, we kind of went back to season 1 where Sabrina and Danni, I'm thankful this didn't actually drag on for a majority of the episode. But Sabrina and Danni bringing up the whole thing is like, see, there you go again. Andi and Karen holding stuff back and, holding out on the rest of us. So, I mean, I'm not trying to take sides here, but regardless as to whether or not Karen and Andi told the girls everything, it doesn't seem like Andi would actually take their advice. Because, you think I'm weak? And it's like, hell, it's like, I feel like Andi, as inconsistent and wishy-washy as Gary, she's like, you know what? Why am I so stupid? It is like, I deserve to be loved. These scenes do nothing for me. I've been saying this all season long about the whole Andi thing. It's like, Sabrina, am I stupid? Of course not. It's like, what the fuck? No, she's an idiot because of the fact that she keeps on saying the same thing. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to do this. I just wanted to do that. No, number one, you're with a married man. He's toxic as hell. He's an abuser, yet you still with him. Just no. I don't feel bad for Andi. Look, I'm not saying that the abuse. I'm like mute. Just cold hearted on it. It's everything. It's like there's no, because there's no growth here. It's just the same old thing. And I remember when the season first started, or even towards the end of season 1, I kind of made like the Joker Harley Quinn comparisons and how this happens in real life. But I just feel like it's ridiculous because if we were just sitting on the fact that Andi just kept going back to Gary, it would be annoying. But I feel like these false platitudes are just kind of shoved in because, like, hey, we're women, we deserve to be loved, treated right. But it's like, you're not helping your cause if you're constantly putting yourself in bad situations. I'm not trying to victim shame here, just to make it clear. It's just like, you can't keep interacting with a toxic man who's not just married, but toxic as hell. So basically, you continuously associate with the wrong kind of guy, expecting him to be Mr. Right when he clearly is not. And then by association, kind of like the way that Maurice and Sabrina snapped on Jacoby just because he knew Alonzo, guilt by association. So because Gary treats you bad, you say all men ain't shit, or I deserve to be loved. But I feel again, Andi is a walking contradiction. At the beginning of the episode with Karen, this is my punishment. I deserve this for being with a married man versus I deserve to be loved. Or Karen, at the bank, I'm stupid. Why am I putting myself in this situation? I don't think I could do this. But then earlier that same morning, Karen, I can handle this myself. Don't worry. I'm just going to go in there, take the money. No, because Gary would have pulled the same shit he just pulled. I'm sorry. I love you. And then she would have been like, oh, Gary. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This video is way too long. But for all my issues with the whole Andi thing, once again, I think Karen being there kind of alleviated the situation, because basically Karen was the sit-in audience. Like every time Andi said something dumb, Karen snapped back the same way the audience would. I like that. So and again, Maurice wasn't over the top. I love the way he stood up to Alonzo. I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. I feel like a 9 out of 10. I feel like this episode definitely was a great mid-season finale. And January 27th is when the show comes back. So it seems that I'm going to have a little bit of a nice little break. Well, fans will have a nice little break here. Basically, we got about a month before the show returns. At this point, I'm just going to semi-assume the Oval is not coming back until, I don't know, maybe spring or something, because the way I'm looking at it is House of Pain and Assisted Living have about 3 to 4-ish episodes left. So about mid-January is when they should be wrapping up their respective season 1s. And I don't know what's going to happen to the 8 o'clock slot. Like, will the Oval come back at 8 and then, you know, like Sistas at 9? Or will they just decide to, like, nope, we're going to do it like we used to, where it's like 9 o'clock the Oval, 10 o'clock Sistas? But I mean, there's been no trailer or indication that the Oval's coming back. I'm just saying, I mean, well, anytime soon. I'm just putting that out there. So it seems that for me, Have and Have Nots, I believe, is January like 28th or something like that, 27th. That's when the final I don't want to say final episode, but episode 10 should be airing. So more or less possibly either the season finale, the series finale, or the mid-season finale. I don't know what the hell's going on there. So all I gotta say is between now, or basically next week, to about the end of January, I guess the shows I'm reviewing are the Haves and Have Not Tuesday. Wednesday is House of Pain and Assisted Living for the handful of episodes they have left. And then when January 27th comes around, you know, Sisters. And of course, I'll do my Ruthless reviews each week too. So, all right. So that's all I got for this particular video. Yeah, I will be doing, you know, probably some breakaway. I still got Sisters content I'm going to sprinkle on the channel between now and January 27th. You know, some follow-up videos from the mid-season finale, the previews for next episode, as well as the couple of scenes we got, like, you know, with Karen and Zach in the airplane, and then, you know, Danny with the 2 guys who are probably Preston related, and we'll go from there. And I will be doing my Sister Bruh season 1 comparison videos, you know, between now and January 27th. But with that being said, I hope if you made it through the end of the video, give yourself a pat on the back. This was pretty long. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but like I said, I'm glad I took some time to just kind of step back and think about the episode more, because thinking of you was obviously in reference to Maurice talking about how it's funny you're with that girl, thinking about Sabrina, and then Sabrina was here talking to me, thinking about you. So it is pretty interesting to think about, no pun intended there. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts on the mid-season finale. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Do you agree with my score? Do you feel like it should be lower? Like I said, Andi was definitely a letdown in the episode, but I felt like the fact that the rest of the characters played such a pivotal role really made this episode shine in my eyes. So like and subscribe, comment your thoughts. Shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. You can join in for as little as $1 a month, or if you want to, you can hit me up on Cash App or PayPal. But then again, it is about to be Christmas, so if you can't do it now, that's completely fine. You watching my content, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, watching the videos and whatnot, it helps bring in more ad revenue so I can keep the lights on. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Next episode review obviously will be either January 27th or 28th, depending on, you know, when I actually do the review. And with that being said, I'll talk to you later. Have a Merry Christmas, safe travels wherever you go. Please stay safe, you know, try not to catch that Rona, and I'll talk to you next time. Hello everyone, this is post-recording Jeremy here. Basically, this is a part of the audio I should have added earlier, but I gave some more thought to the episode, and don't worry, I won't be here for another 5 minutes. I'm not trying to make this review an hour long, but something that I didn't realize until doing a live stream on YouTube earlier this morning is that when the girls were pretty much gathered together right before they went to give Gary the money, Karen pretty much tried to compare the situation between Andi and Gary to herself and Zach, because if I don't if I remember correctly, I believe Zach, like, she said elbowed her or hit her in the face. I think like he threw some keys at her and they accidentally hit her, and then she got a knife out on him, if I remember correctly. So it's like, what? And I mean, the dude got stabbed to save your life, yet you think that. I'm not saying that Zach is the best boyfriend. I'm not saying that at all. But at the same time, to put him in the same category as Gary is completely wrong. So even though in the episode review I gave Karen a ton of praise for, telling Andi what it was, I just don't think that her putting Zach in that category is right. So shout out to Danni for having Zach's back. So I wanted to add that in there. And also somebody thought it was funny how, like Andi and Karen keep everything from Danni and Sabrina. But then on the same token, Sabrina talks with Maurice more than she talks to the other girls. So it's almost like there are like a bunch of different factions within this group of ladies. But I'll do a separate video in the near future about that. So that's all I had to say for this extra snippet of the review. And with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later.